So LSU did have a big commitment today from Destrehan wide receiver Jabari Mack, a top 100 recruit in the nation, a top 5 player in the state of Louisiana, the number 10 wide receiver in the country as well. The 6', 200-pound wide receiver out of Destrehan was at practice today. We did get eyes on him today. Looked a little bit taller than 6 foot to me, if I'm being honest. Now, he was on field level. Was with Sherman Wilson walking around the entire facility all day. This is back-to-back times where you've gone and had 2 receivers that are on your campus and neither one of them left without committing. The first one being Tristan Keys, when the Hattiesburg native who was an Ole Miss, and by God jeepers, he did not decommit today. How about that? But Keys comes to LSU from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He doesn't leave without publicly committing. Jabari Mack comes from Destrehan to Baton Rouge today, was at practice for the entire practice, and does not leave Baton Rouge without committing. It is very big what LSU is doing right now. Like I've said before about this, about LSU and recruiting. I do feel as if right now for LSU, you're in a different spot. Because this time last year, you were the number 1 team in the country when it came to recruiting and recruiting rankings. I think on 3, you're number 1 again right now in recruiting rankings. The difference I feel about in this recruitment or this cycle of recruiting than last cycle's recruiting is I feel as if that you're in a more stable place financially when it comes to you going out there and spending the money that you need to spend. And not wasting time to get those high, talented, recruited guys on your campus. I feel much more confident now than when I did a year ago. Because as we talked about a year ago during recruiting, listen, you got Kay Phillips to come in. And when Kay Phillips committed, I remember our conversation, and y'all called me a Debbie Downer or whatever you called me. Texas would not give up that fight at the end, and you're going to have to pick between Pickett and Phillips. You picked Pickett, and I think you made the right choice there. I feel that you're in a different situation. I do feel that you're in a different situation here. With that being said, you do have the number 1 recruiting class in the country. It is highly impressive what you've done over the last week, especially that receiver position. Now, on 247, you're at number 3. There are a lot of guys in your own state that you still need to go after, okay? You do have big guys like the big guy Richard Anderson, but you do have Lamar Brown that I do think will commit this summer, Blaine Bradford that will commit this summer, and then you have some other ones that you need to go and get. But as of right now, in the top 10 in the state of Louisiana, you have Kenny Darby, Aiden Hall, Jabari Mack, Braxton Martinez, Richard Anderson that have committed. You got to get Lamar Brown. You have to get Blaine Bradford. And you got more than anything, you got to make sure you get Blaine Bradford. That safety position, as we're going to talk about in just a moment, I thought got cooked today. Going back through my notes in some critical situations, they cannot cover a tight end. That is a fact. Listen, I'm not saying you don't need to go through the portal, but it is what it is. And when I say safeties got cooked, I shouldn't say safety room got cooked because that's not factual. Outside of Deshaun Spears, you got cooked. Now, Joel Rogers made some decent plays here and there. Leaves the process of elimination out of it of who you think that we're going after. I want to address this too because this is something that we can bring up. ACC03 says kids committing just after visits doesn't seem to work. December's a long way away, and NIL discussions and officials haven't even come close to starting. Here's the thing. You know, I see a lot of people on Twitter talking about that. Do you know that 98.5% of kids don't ever flip? Did y'all know that? In major P4 schools, Now, there's a lot of kids, and it's a lot of 2%, but majority of your class never flips on you. So you had 25 commits. You had 25 commits. Hold on. Let's pull out a calculator right now. You had 27 commits. Okay. 2 of them flipped on you. Okay. 2 of them flipped on you. Guys, it's 0.07%. 7%. And that's high, I guess. But you had 25 kids that never flipped from you. Now, were there kids that decommitted? Yeah, like Decorian Moore, but as someone who was a part of that whole situation, that wasn't a flip. That was a we give up. But the kids from your state are mostly going to stay locked in here. It's not very often that you have a kid that flips on you from the state. But listen, I don't like the narrative. Let me just say this to ACC that was in the chat. I don't like the narrative that, oh, man, I just thought it doesn't matter anymore. Guys, it 1,000% matters. The likelihood of a kid, especially a kid that's not a 5-star, to flip on you, or top 50 recruit to flip on you, it normally doesn't work out like that, and especially from the state. Now, I mean, like, I don't like that, because again, there will be a lot of kids that don't flip on you. All right. During individual drills, a lot of things that I'm doing. I'm checking rolls, see who shows out or shines out for me on these individual drills. I am not wasting my time on any individual drills, cone drills, whatever, bag drills, sled drills. I'm not bothering myself writing all this down. So we probably pick up around halfway through practice. So there are a couple of keynotes that I want to throw out there before we get rolling today. And Brian Kelly talked about this today in his press conference. There's a lot of shifting going on along the offensive line. There were multiple situations in the run game period that Braylon Moore was at center. DJ Chester moved to left guard. There was a lot of situations where Paul Mabinga would be at left guard and DJ Chester would stay at center. They moved a lot of guys around. There was a time that Ori Williams came in at left guard with Braylon Moore, and then DJ Chester, going back through my notes, was at right guard. They shifted a lot throughout the day. One thing of note, I don't think that you're remotely close to being settled on the interior of your offensive line. Today, Josh Thompson, the Northwestern transfer who's been here a day, started off the day at right tackle. As of right now, to me, Josh Thompson does not feel like a right tackle to me. You need to move him to right guard and figure it out. And if you need to put Chester at left guard, keep him there, Braylon Moore, and then put Josh Thompson at right guard, by all means do it. I do not think that he's a right tackle. He has the athletic build of a guard, but he was out there. So a little pre-noting before we do anything. Another thing, Tamarcus Cooley was not at practice today. Brian Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, said it was a soft tissue injury on his quad, and for preventative reasons, they kept him out. That would be the big things when it comes to shifting for me. Defensively, I would say this. I know when we come in here, there's a lot of pre-gram notes that we go through. Defensively, guys, they're going through a lot of different packages, and we'll get to those in these team drills. But right now, they're just rotating a lot of shit in and out of there. It's going to be interesting to see as in the fall, when those things start, live bullets really start flying, how they mix and match there. Defense was about the same. There were some rotations today. With Tamarcus Cooley out, Deshaun Spears came in. About halfway through the practice, Joel Rogers replaces Javian Toviano. All I would say here is this. All I would say is they are throwing everything that they have at the wall right now at safety. Deshaun Spears at the current moment, and we will get to him at the end of this, has had 3 really good days during spring. Can that translate into a game? I don't know, but he's had 3 really good games, or 3 really good practices. Let's get to practice here. So LSU goes into the run game period where you have an offense, a center, 2 guards, and then sometimes you have a center guard tackle. A lot of different things going on here. But the first run during the run game period was a power left guard. Paul Mabinga pulled for Caleb Jackson, where he puts his head down and gets 7 yards. Looks really good. Weeks in on the stop. Gabe Relaford, pause. Gabe Relaford. I asked Brian Kelly in the press conference today. I really wanted to ask Brian Kelly about the Deion Sanders and playing another team during spring. Gabe Relaford continues to stand out to me. Gabe Relaford in the run game period had a stop on Caden Durham. You would go down, and a couple plays later, he would do it again. Gabe Relaford on an outside zone gets off the tackle of Tyree Adams, physically bullied Tyree, if we just being honest, physically kind of pushed him out of the way and made a tackle for no gain on Caden Durham. Gabe Relaford's going to be all over these practice reports. You went out and for LSU in the transfer portal, and you went and got 3 defensive ends or outside linebacker in combos. Now, Jack Pyburn was a little limited today. Looked like they didn't want to push him. Gabe Relaford stepped up yet again. And I asked Brian Kelly about Gabe Relaford. The 3 things he said. Listen, don't sleep on him as a pass rusher, which we'll talk about that in just a minute. And he's really physical in the running game, and he's got a different, unique body type and how he does things at edge. This is not disrespectful to BK, but I say this endearing. No shit. Dude has been going off. Run game period was won by Gabe Relaford, in my opinion. Lane, a walk-on running back, gets a run for 8 yards. It's the first time we got to see Josh Thompson. I want to make a note about this too, because a walk-on running back with his second unit had a 8-yard run, and in the very next play on a counter, Harlan Berry takes the counter run for a touchdown. Does not get touched. Josh Thompson at right tackle in the running game bullied human beings. Now, when you think of Harlan Berry, walk-on running back, you think this run game period, there wasn't ones in there. That's bullshit. Patrick Payton and Don McKinley and Weeks, Keys, and Bro were the setup in the running game in the interior. Bullshit. They were running against the ones. You had a third-string unit going against a first-string unit, and you got a 7-8 yard run, and then you had a counter run by Harlan Berry for a touchdown. And in both instances, Don McKinley got welcomed to a Big Ten Hall. And what I mean by that is a mauler, shot caller, 20-inch blades on the Impala. He is not a right tackle. Move him to right guard. Welcome to the SEC, Josh Thompson. Josh Thompson came out to practice with those black Rydell pads on his elbow like all those Notre Dame dudes do. That's when you know you got a mauler. Duke is a really good run blocker. Not a right tackle in pass pro. We'll get to that in a minute. Back-to-back runs in his first time and first action in the SEC and spring football. He gets 2 really good blocks. A down block on that counter run was beautiful. Zone read by Garrett Nussmeier. It's tackled by Patrick Payton. In no way humanly possible will Garrett Nussmeier ever pull a ball in a game like that, in my opinion. So that's kind of a little bit of a wash. Outside zone run, Patrick Payton swim moves in between Braden Sharp and Tradez Green. He splits a double team and tracks down Caden Durham for a no loss. Don McKinley gets inside of the right guard, Cohen Eccles, and gets a tackle for loss, followed by Paul Mabinga getting a bully, I say a defensive pancake. It's not a pancake, but just physically mauling Paul Mabinga, and he got a tackle for loss. Kalaj Cobbins, welcome to the show, gets a TFL on Garrett Nussmeier on his own read. He read the end very well. He crashed in like he was going to go after the running back, so Nuss pulled it, but he was athletic enough to make the play. Kalaj Cobbins, welcome to the show, big man. They went through some three third team stuff. We got to see some of the younger guys. Juwan Johnson was in at quarterback. You had two walk-on linebackers were in the game. There was a zone read where, and later in the practice, Juwan Johnson made a stupid run in team period with the third team. But zone read, he outruns two walk-on linebackers. We're not putting that in the practice report. But there was a package for Michael Van Buren on a zone read. Jabari Butler made the tackle for no gain. So run game, listen, you had two really good runs in that second team unit. I thought Josh Thompson stood out in the running game. But be honest with you, man, defense kind of won that one for me. I mean, that front seven play was really good in the running game today. All right. Let's move to one-on-ones. Receivers versus DBs and one-on-ones. They started off with Chris Hilton, which I feel like they start off with every one-on-one or 7-on-7 with a fade to Chris Hilton. But Chris Hilton, touchdown. Jakeem Jackson was in on the coverage. He beats him by like 2 or 3 steps for a tutty. Destin Hill, which, guys, I got to tell you, the rotation at wide receiver right now is ridiculously dumb. They got guys all over the place. Destin Hill has been running with the ones. It's not every play that he's running with the ones, but he's running with the ones. And with Nick Anderson being out this spring, Destin Hill's trying to make a name for himself. He's kind of done that, if I'm being honest with you. He's made some really good plays coming off of that knee injury. But Destin Hill beats Jakeem Jackson on an in route for 15 yards. Joel Rogers on a slant route against Xavier Thomas gets a PBU. Really good play by Joel Rogers there. Barry and Brown post route on DJ Pickett. Let me stop right there. There was a video that came out, but our practice report was out before the video got posted. Barry and Brown really got DJ Pickett off of the line of scrimmage, and he's running a post route. I was standing by Wilson Alexander of the Advocate when this happened. The post gets thrown by Nuss. And I literally said, oh, man, that's a touchdown. And wouldn't you know it, DJ Pickett gains insane amount of ground on Barry and Brown and gets a PBU in the end zone. That kid is special. I'm telling you, that kid is special, man. He's making some really good plays. Really, really good plays. I thought he was beat. I thought Barry and Brown had a touchdown. He probably gained 5 yards on him. It was a bad situation off the ball for DJ Pickett. The ground that he made up was, as the kids say these days, dumb. It was dumb. That kid can play, man. He can run. He can really run. And the length that he has, mega paws, is not what you see from a corner. Kid can play. But he gets a PBU on a post route. Toviano has okay coverage on Green. I gave it to Javian Toviano. It's really an overthrow by Nuss. If you throw a ball in the back of the end zone, it was a wheel route to Tradez Green. If you throw a wheel route and you overthrow a dude that's 6'7", even if it's tipping off his hands, which is what he did have to do going up to catch it, that's an overthrow for me. Regardless, it's an incompletion. These overthrows got to stop too. All right, they move to the red zone. Garrett Nussmeier with a fade to Xavier Thomas on Mansour Delane. It would have been an offensive PI. He pushes off of Delane and get open. Nevertheless, it's a fade touchdown. Anderson, an in route on Jakeem Jackson for a touchdown. Nuss overthrows Sharp on an out route. He threw it almost out of like practice. Like it was a massively bad overthrow. But he overthrows him. I don't know, even with the overthrow, it's complete, by the way, because Deshaun Spears is on the coverage. Barry and Brown fade route. Michael Turner. Here comes Michael Turner again. Michael Turner with a stupid play. Absolutely stupid play on the fade for Barian Brown. Michael Turner gets beat off the line of scrimmage. And instead of panicking, when he sees that Barian Brown is jumping, he turns his back immediately, jumps, out-mosses him, tips it, almost picks it in the end zone, but it drops. But a PBU by Michael Turner. Michael Turner's going to get some run now. A lot of people are saying this is spring camp stuff. That's bullshit. That bullshitted spring camp talk. They're going to throw him back out there now. All 155 pounds of him. They're going to throw him back out there and see what happens. But a really good PBU by Michael Turner. Back-to-back plays by safety Deshaun Spears were dumb. Deshaun Spears has had a really good spring. An out route by Trey'Dez Green that he breaks up, and then another PBU on an in route by Aaron Anderson. Let's talk about that by Deshaun Spears. So you have an out route by a big body tight end at 6'7", and you're able to guard him. Then the very next play, you go into the slot on Aaron Anderson, two completely different human beings. They run two completely different routes, literally. And he covered a big-ass body tight end and a dude that's in the slot, and he gets two PBUs. Now, either he knows what's coming, either Deshaun Spears knows exactly what they're going to run, or this kid is developing in front of our eyes. I said on Wednesday, and I'm going to say it again here, I don't want him to be moved. I do not want number 10 to be moved at all. He has been the best cover safety this camp, without a doubt. And quite frankly, you need that. If you did put him back there along with DJ Pickett, Jakeem Jackson, and Mansour Delane, I have a lot more faith in what you have at DB than anything else. Deshaun Spears has got to continue to see reps with the ones. He was physical enough with a tight end to make sure that he didn't win on an out route and gets a PBU where he knocks it down, and then a slant route by Aaron Anderson where he bats that one down too. Again, either he just knows what's coming or he's really developing in front of our eyes. Two really good plays by Deshaun Spears. The last play from the ones is Xavion Thomas and the out route touchdown on Javian Toviano. Your other safety spot is up for grabs. Everybody on the team can try out for that spot for all I care. It is not good right now. It is not good in run support. It is not good in coverage. A lot this camp, you have gone single high safety, and you've tried to do some really exotic things. The problem with doing that is it has put 25 in the box, and he has not been good enough there. Because when I get it's a wide receiver that's on you and a very shifty wide receiver, but man, you're going to put yourself in those situations. And again, I don't think 25 had look, I didn't write down the twos here because I thought that Michael Van Buren, for what it's worth, it kind of started off a little sluggish for him. He had two walk-on wide receivers that were out there, and then they finally got him Teron Francis that he could catch some passes for him. Teron Francis can play here, by the way. Of the younger guys, he's the best receiver that's out there, in my opinion. The young guys. I really don't know what to make of anything that's behind that. I mean, Joel Rogers had a good PBU. Michael Van Buren's got nowhere to go with the football. With some of these younger guys, it's good for the second team unit, but to be honest with you, like P.J. Woolen by Bauer Sharp got beat on a wheel route. Michael Van Buren missed that wheel route. Woodland gets beat. Austin Osbury on an in route gets beat by Teron Francis. That's got to be a better throw by Michael Van Buren. MVB's got to start being better here. Now, I'm going to give him a little grace. The grace I'm going to give him is, look, man, it's your first spring with these new guys. You're still a young kid. You're still a young quarterback. Do it. But I'm going to tell you, as of right now, As of right now, he has had some iffy situations happen for him. I will tell you, when he's on and when he's in a rhythm, he is ridiculously good. When he's not, here's what I think about Michael Van Buren at the current moment. I feel like I'm watching a kid that does not know the offense fully. He's still learning. That's how I truly feel. How the routes are being run, the concepts, all of it. So that's how we landed the one-on-one period. LSU would go in their first 11-on-11 period. I'm going to speed it up here a little bit. An inside screen pass to Bauer Sharp. Yes, LSU actually ran a screen pass. Defensive line had no idea what hit him. Or D-line had no idea what hit him. DJ Chester arguably had the play of his life. He had a crackback block on a screen. I say a crackback block, but he gave ground to the defensive end, or defensive tackle. He pushed McKinley out of the way enough to get so Nuss could get the screen off. You have two safeties that are barging in to try to stop the screen to Bauer Sharp, and he just gets enough of Deshaun Spears to break the play wide open. But that's the first 11-on-11 period. Outside zone run by Caden Durham is beautiful because of a block by Tradez Green and Bauer Sharp and 12 personnel that goes for 10. Javian Toviano and Alton Alsbury miss the tackles. Again, safety play. But they got to the second level and they got exposed there. Mansour Delane, I wrote this down. Mansour Delane from the far boundary makes the tackle. How he did that, I don't know. He had to have known a run was coming. Fade route by Chris Hilton and wide open in the end zone is missed by Garrett. Destin Hill with a hitch route, Delane on the coverage, and then a quick out route to Tradez Green, incomplete, pass broken up by DJ Pickett. They only did a couple of plays in 11-on-11. It was kind of like a little teaser. Then they moved to 7-on-7. Before we get to 7-on-7, I want to move to offensive line, one-on-ones, and pass pro. Gabe Relaford got one of the only sacks today, outside of Patrick Payton and Kalaj Cobbins. Ian's got him. But there was a situation where Gabe Relaford did a swim move on the outside to Josh Thompson and got a sack. There's a reason in the first 11-on-11 I left out the Gabe Relaford sack because I'm going to come back to it. They did not reward on the Garrett Nussmeier overthrow to Chris Hilton. They did not reward Gabe Relaford for a sack. In Blake Ruffino's God's humble opinion, it is a sack. Gabe Relaford then turns right around in O-line, D-line drills, beats Josh Thompson on an outside swim move that was beautiful. I feel like I'm watching a really good end go up against a guard and pass pro, and you're putting it on the boundary. I don't think it's fair. Now, the very next rep, Josh Thompson, Gabe tries to hit him on an inside move, and he got bullied. He got bullied. Once Thompson got his hands on him, he got bullied. For what it's worth, in the O-line, D-line pass rush drill, I feel like the O-line dominated the drill. I know that the defense will feel like that they did. That interior defensive line has got to figure out something else in a pass rush outside of bull rushing. They got to figure it out because Kyle is going to have to get them and teach them a second move. They had a good performance tonight or today in pass pro. Tyree Adams, for what it's worth, and I wrote this down, and I wanted to get to it. The best battle that I've seen O-line versus D-line has been Tyree Adams versus Patrick Payton. And for what it's worth, I would be very interested to talk to Patrick Payton and be like, hey, man, I've seen you go up against Tyree Adams. It looks like y'all have had some really good battles out there. By the way, Tyree Adams won all 3 reps against Patrick Payton today. Big dog. That, to me, that's saying something. I'm just being frank with you. I thought Tyree had some good reps. Patrick Payton on the first one tried to hit an inside spin move on Tyree Adams, and my man got bullied. He got pushed down to the ground. Tyree wasn't playing that shit. Then he tried to hit him with an outside rip, got stopped, tried to hit with a backside spin, and then he got bullied again. A fact. They had a good period there. It was probably and arguably the best drill all spring that I'd seen your offensive line. Now, on Wednesday, we came in here and said they got their cheeks clapped like a XXX video on Cinemax at 2 a.m. in the morning. Today, they stood up and passed pro, and I'm happy to see it. I liked what I saw from a lot of those guys. Paul Mabinga got beat by Don McKinley twice. And quite frankly, I was not going to let Paul Mabinga be the only one to really waste the other 25 reps that we saw, 25 snaps that we saw. I'm giving that one to the offensive line. So, all in all, that one was a really good period. I see y'all laughing in the chat. It is like Cinemax, man. It is like Cinemax. I mean, they got their asses whooped. Them cheeks got clapped like a 2 a.m. Cinemax video. I mean, it's just the truth. All right, let's go to 7-on-7. Aaron Anderson out route on Jakeem Jackson for 8 yards. Chris Hilton on an in route made a leaping grab one-handed. God, please let Chris Hilton stay healthy. Dear sweet Jesus above, let Chris Hilton stay healthy. Please, sweet Jesus. Glenn West of 247 said this during practice, and it's funny, but it's true. If the fan base got to see the Chris Hilton that we saw on a regular basis in practice, you would say that he's the number one receiver. That is a fact. You saw Chris make some explosive plays at the end of the season, and we need him to stay healthy. The kid's too talented to keep getting hurt. Put him in bubble wrap for all I give a shit. But a 15-yard grab by Chris Hilton, he goes up on Jakeem Jackson. Listen, I've said Jakeem Jackson a lot tonight. Let me say this about Jakeem Jackson. He got beat a lot, but my God, his coverage was really good. He's right there, man. He's right there on. I mean, you're going up one. Chris Hilton's going up with one hand, making the grab. I don't know what he does there, if I'm being honest. I do not know what he does when a dude makes a freakish play. You don't want to kick the legs out from under your wide receiver that's injury prone. Thank you for not doing that. He let Chris Hilton come down, and he kind of caught him in the air. That way he didn't, hurt himself. But a ridiculous catch by Chris. Caleb Jackson in the flat for 8 yards got tracked down by Donovan Keys on the stop. Harlem Berry on an in route on Deshaun Spears. Pause. Every time that I've seen Harlem Berry running with the ones, every time, he lines up in the backfield, and either he's going to go out and motion to the right, or he's going to go out and motion for the left. Right? They will not keep him in the backfield. I'm going to have a very hot take here. It is of my humble opinion, based off of what I've seen in Harlem Berry in the passing game, he might be one of, and I mean this with the entire team, I think Harlem Berry might be one of the best route runners on this team. His 1-2, fake outside, and then got the body motion of Deshaun Spears to get to that outside shoulder, that far left outside shoulder. So you have Harlem Berry that goes in motion to the left, gets into the slot. He breaks, goes out, and then as soon as he stops on a dime, he's right back inside, catches a slant that goes for 12. I love this kid's route running ability in his hands. Deshaun Spears made the ground up and got to him, but it was a hell of a route that went for 12 yards. Destin Hill on a fade route on the far left boundary. Nuss overthrows it on the fade. Michael Van Buren comes in. Tyron Francis out of Carr on an in route for 18 on P.J. Woodland. MVB misses Brown on a post route. DJ Pickett was in on the coverage. They would go down to the red zone. Nuss stayed in most of the red zone for the first probably 7 snaps. Nuss has nowhere to go on the first play. Let me stop here. I know we're going long on this practice report, but it is what it is. It was a long day. We got a lot to talk about. They go to the red zone. Before we get to 7-on-7 red zone, I want you to hear something. Offense had a horrible day in the red zone. That is a fact. But you're in 7-on-7 in the red zone, and Garrett had nowhere to go. They blew the whistle. They called him sack, or they gave him the incompletion. Second down, Delane has a tip pass up in the air, and everybody's trying to go up and grab it, but the ball gets tipped up in the air on an out route by Trey'Dez Green. In that tip pass, when the ball goes in the air, Trey'Dez Green mosses 4 guys. Yes, mega pause, 4 guys get mossed. He comes down with the ball, touchdown. That dude is a freak. Hilton TD on an out route, or TD that would have been for Hilton on an out route gets overthrown by Nussmeier on 3rd down is what they had. And on 4th down, you had Harlem Berry in the flat that was overthrown by Garrett. I did not put this in the practice report. This is my fault, so let me go over here. Michael Van Buren in the red zone. A hitch route to Destin Hill is broken up by Michael Turner. A slant route by Aaron Anderson that is overthrown by Michael Van Buren. A in route by Bauer Sharp, or slant route by Bauer Sharp, is a touchdown. That is on Joel Rogers. Javian Toviano on the next 2 plays, one by Xavier Thomas and one by Chris Hilton. A slant and an in route, both going for touchdowns. And that would end 7-on-7. So, first team, red zone was not good. All right. Let's move to the big part of here. So, we start off in the red zone, 11-on-11 to end the practice. More of what we would call a mini scrimmage. But you start off in the red zone. Caden Durham, inside run, inside counter. Goes for no gain. Gabe Rutherford. How many times I'm going to say that name today? Goodness gracious. Gabe Rutherford is a freak. He's a freak. Second down from the 2-yard line. Durham inside zone run for a touchdown. Absolutely ridiculous block by Tyree Adams on Don McKinley. He gets the push. Durham goes in. First down. Peyton outside zone to Caden Durham. Patrick Payton gets a tackle for loss. Second down, Patrick Payton on a zone read gets a stop for no gain. Looks like there was a mesh problem with Garrett and Caden Durham. Regardless, no gain. Third down. Third down is a bootleg right. Nuss misses Xavier Thomas in the end zone. He was unguarded. Javian Toviano had fell down on the play. So you had a third down situation there where you could have gotten in the end zone. An overthrow by Nuss in the end zone would have been a score. 4th and goal from the 2-yard line. Shuffle pass to Bauer Sharp. Gets blown up by Don McKinley and Patrick Payton, along with Gabe Rutherford, who really made the play, putting the pressure on Garrett Nussmeier on the outside to make the shuffle pass. So stop. I asked around on this because I thought it was a stop. The whistle is blown and Bauer Sharp spins off of somebody. He's like, I got a touchdown. There were referees out there. I know I actually got introduced to official AD who was out there. Maybe he can elaborate more. To me, it looked like Bauer Sharp got stopped. Now, that's up for interpretation. I am awarding the defense on that. If someone wants to say, no, Blake, he got in, good on him. I don't think that he got in. So your defense stood up in the red zone. Second team unit. Michael Van Buren on a zone read for no gain. Gabe Rutherford. Good googly moogly. Oh, I should have brought this back up because we started this a long time ago. At left guard, you had DJ Chester, and at center, you had Braylon Moore on this situation too. Michael Van Buren, fade route to Berrien Brown is incomplete. Bootleg right, nowhere to go. Van Buren picks up a yard out of bounds. And then you try to run the ball with Caleb Jackson that goes, they said it's a touchdown. Again, I thought you got stopped, but they awarded him a touchdown. It did not look like he got in either. Again, up for interpretation. It is what it is. I don't care. Pick your own thing. I don't get in that battle with you. It looked to me that he got no gain. We flip out of the red zone and go to 2 minute with the first team. It's more of a minute drill, not a 2 minute drill, but you get the premise. Thomas on an outside run, a counter outside run, gets blown up by Deshaun Spears for no gain. An out route by Tradez Green on Mansour Delane gets 9.5, 10 yards. They give him the first down. An out route by Aaron Anderson on Mansour Delane goes for 10. A play action pass where Garrett Nussmeier scrambles. Big play here. Glad that Nuss ran it. Don't know if he'll run the ball in a game, but he runs the ball for 10 yards and gets the first down. He gets down and then calls timeout. A screen pass. So they went quad 4 left, diamond quad 4 left. LSU lined up in a diamond formation on the outside, technically at the end. Kane Durham gets motioned out. Garrett throws him the pass. He gets dropped. Field goal, 50, 45-ish, 50-ish yard field goal in that range for Damian Ramos is missed. No good. Second team unit comes in. Michael Van Buren scrambles for 8 yards. Next play, Blake Baker sends the heat. West Weeks jumps up, tips the ball in the air, incomplete. Durham has a run for 6 yards. Chris Hilton has a hitch for 9 yards. He's out of bounds. And then this is still the first unit. The only difference is that Michael Van Buren is in and Garrett Nussmeier is out. Durham breaks off a run for 11 yards, stopped by Deshaun Spears, tackle missed by Javian Toviano. Want to make this very clear too. They are tackling. They are going to the ground. This is not like I'm just going to touch you. The tackle is missed by Javian Toviano. Durham gets 11. Deshaun Spears tracks him down and gets him down. A 55-yard field goal, or 53-yard field goal, by Damian Ramos is missed. I want to end it here because I didn't talk about special teams. Aaron Burrell and Damian Ramos are in an open competition as far as I'm concerned. With the second team, Braylon Moore would stay in and DJ Chester would go to center halfway through. He almost made and came inches away from hitting a 55-yard field goal. Kid's got a leg on him. You had 3 2-minute drills. Nuss was fine, by the way. He came in at the end. He was running. Nothing wrong with Nuss. Want to specify that too. Defense had a day, man. They had a day. At the end of practice, they stood up. I thought that they looked the best today out of all of it. And that's how we ended practice. A couple of notes, a couple of things that I'd walk away from practice today. Let's get to a couple of them. For me, going into day 9 of spring football practice, I thought that there were a couple of guys that stood out. I thought Patrick Payton in the running game. One thing that came up during this whole transfer with Patrick Payton from the Florida State side of things was, man, he ain't going to give the effort. Well, shit, if he's giving that effort in practice, I think he's going to give that effort in a game. That's just my opinion. Patrick Payton did not cause you to go 2-10. Your incompetence of your head coach getting DJ Uiagalelei to be your quarterback was the reason why. You don't go 2-10 based off of what a DN did. He stood out to me. Gabe Relaford stood out to me. The physical play that both of them had with Jack Pyburn being limited, guys, you couldn't have told or tell that Jack Pyburn was out, if I'm being frank. Both of them look really good. The edge position has been the best position on this team so far this camp. You went and got Jamari Butler. Jamari Butler's not beating out Gabe Relaford right now. It's just not happening. So Peyton And Relaford, for me, really stood out. And I asked Brian Kelly again about Gabe Relaford. That kid has played his ass off. Deshaun Spears had a really good day for me in coverage and in some run game stuff. He had a really good day for me. Offensively, I like some of the stuff that I saw from Josh Thompson. I think he is a guard. I still am worried about the interior of that offensive line. I think you've been okay at tackle. I think Weston Davis has been better every single day that we've been out there. I think Tyree Adams has been really good. And I do think that you have a litany of wide receivers that you can play with. I can't judge this running game. I know you had some runs today in a 1-minute drill. But, man, you're at the 2-yard line, and you did some things today in the red zone that you can't get in. That is concerning to me. There's a narrative that I was asked about today on our practice report. Blake, do you think that this D-line is that good? I don't want to go there. No, I don't want to go there. I think you could be that really good at edge, to be blunt with you. But I just think that your interior offensive line is struggling. That has been the theme the entire camp.